Hello my fellow book readers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nadia and welcome back to the Dauntless Caster. So today I want to do a little bit of like an autumn fall recommendation because autumn is approaching, spooky seasons alert. We don't have autumn here in Indonesia technically, but you know, nothing wrong with kind of like embracing fall, you know, with some really good reads. Yeah, so I have some recommendations here and as well as some TBRs. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first book I will recommend for this fall is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I know this book has gotten some sort of mixed feelings, I guess, over the past few months. I personally really like this book, although yes, I did think that V.E. Schwab could have done better. It's not my favorite V.E. Schwab book, and I love V.E. Schwab, honestly. I love her as a writer, but I still really like this book and I would recommend it. I would recommend trying it out if you're interested. So this is essentially about a girl named Addie LaRue who makes a deal with like the devil or something. So basically this deal kind of causes her to live as an immortal, but in the process, everyone who meets her forgets about her. Yeah, so not exactly like the immortal life she wished for, but yeah, that's the price she had to pay. But the story really kind of gets going when she meets this boy named Henry, who actually remembers her. So unlike everyone, he actually knows who she is, and so she's trying to find out who Henry is and how he can remember her. I honestly really enjoyed this book. I like getting to see Addie and Henry's relationship, and I also really like getting to see Henry's perspective, which I did not expect at all because I thought we were just gonna get Addie's perspective, but I also really enjoyed Henry's point of view as well. So it's like really interesting. Yeah, I just think this is one of the like really one of those cozy fall reads that you can just like warm yourself up in a blanket, just read it and enjoy it, you know, yeah, those kind of things. For me, it does scream fall for some reason, but yeah, I do definitely recommend that you give it a try if you're at least interested in the plot. I really do enjoy it. The second one will come as absolutely no surprise, especially if you have seen my previous video. I did a spoiler-free review of it, and that is none other than These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a fantastic Romeo and Juliet retelling that I was obsessed with. Yeah, so I did do a full review of this, so you can check it out in the description down below. If you do not know what this book is about, it is essentially, like I said, a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1920 Shanghai. So it's essentially about two rival gangs, the White Flowers and the Scarlet Gang, who have been in this generations-old blood feud for a really long time. And so we follow two characters, Roma, who is the heir to the White Flowers, and also Juliet, who is the heir to the Scarlet Gang. And so Roma and Juliet have this history between them that ends in betrayal, but they are then forced to work together because there is this monster that has been like, you know, going around Shanghai and causing people to tear out their own throats. So yeah, basically it's one of those like reluctant ally sort of story. But yeah, like I said, I absolutely enjoyed it so much. Like, it is fantastic. But what I really liked about it as well was the historical aspects of it, and I thought Chloe Gong did a really good job in kind of researching, you know, what life was like in 1920 Shanghai, and also Juliet as a character and her personality, and I just absolutely loved it. Yeah, if you want to know my full thoughts about this book, you can definitely check out my review. It is spoiler free, so yeah, it's definitely safe to check out. And also, if you notice, I actually got a hardback copy, which is very kindly sent to me. I was very happy about it. And the coolest thing about this particular copy is that it's signed. Pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know if you can see the signature, but yeah, absolutely loved it. Really good. So now I have like 2 copies now, which tells you how much I love the book. So the next book I will talk about is more of a spooky feel, and that is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. You have probably heard of this book, right? Yeah, so I thought that this is like a fantastic spooky read if you're really looking for, you know, magic, scary magic, occult sort of thing. This is a really good book. So this book is about a girl named Alex who attends Yale, but she also attends this like secret society that deals with, yeah, the occult basically, that deals with like demons and stuff. So she has this like this power that grants her, you know, access to the secret society. And I don't really want to tell you any more than that because I think it's one of those books that you do have to experience for yourself. I think this was a pretty fantastic book, especially for Leigh Bardugo's first time. So this is her first time venturing into new adult. So, and I thought this was like a pretty strong opening, you know, introduction to her new adult works. And I'm kind of happy that she is continuing this book, even though I preferred this being a standalone. But you know what? That's fine. If she could find a way to justify the second book, I'm all for it. Yeah, so basically this is like a fantastic read if you really want to get into that creepy feeling. Although I will advise you to look at some of the trigger warnings because this book does have a lot of moments like that are very dark and very triggering. So yeah, definitely worth checking out just to see if you're comfortable with any of the themes that are explored in here. But other than that, I would definitely recommend this if you do not mind venturing through, you know, dark, the dark avenue. You should read this. Okay, so the next one is no stranger to those who read a lot of mystery books, and that is The Snowman by Jo Nesbø. Any of you mystery fans, I'm sure you have heard about Jo Nesbø and his books. And yeah, I had a like big mystery crime and mystery phase back in the day. And this is like one of the books that I came across and one of the books that were very highly recommended. And I think this is one of those books that really lived up to the hype. I absolutely really liked it. I think the general plot may sound really simple. So basically this is about a detective who receives this mysterious letter. And to top that off, there's been like these string of murders of women who have disappeared and also have been killed. So this leads him to kind of be suspicious about, you know, like does the death have any correlation with the letter that he received, basically like that. Yeah, like I said, the plot does sound incredibly simple, but the book is anything but simple, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I think this gave me such fall, winter vibes kind of thing, and I think I found a new favorite genre, which is like Scandinavian, atmospheric Scandinavian mysteries. I just think they did a really good job in kind of creating this atmospheric feel. And I like Jo Nesbø's writing as well. I like the stories that he's created, you know. I think he's definitely one of those authors that if you want to get into crime or mystery, like Jo Nesbø was one of the writers that you should definitely start with. And actually you can start with any book, honestly, I think, even though they're a part of a series. But if you do want to get into Jo Nesbø specifically, I would highly recommend starting with The Snowman. So this next book I will kind of cheat a little bit because it is by the same author, because I do have like I think 7 of his books and I really enjoyed them. So the second book from him is Macbeth by Jo Nesbø again. So yeah, like the title suggests already, this is essentially a retelling of Macbeth, except if Macbeth is like a detective in the modern world. So this book technically came to me in a perfect perfect timing, because I was studying Macbeth at the time and some other like Shakespeare plays like Romeo and Juliet, and also Twelfth Night. So yeah, this came at a perfect time, and I was already familiar with like the story of Macbeth. So kind of coming into this, for me, it was kind of fun pointing out, you know, the similarities between this and the original play. But I do, if you have not read Macbeth, like the original play, you can technically go into this without reading it. But I just feel like it's definitely a lot more fun if you're already familiar with the original story. Like you can pick up some Easter eggs here and there that is like just really fun, and you know, kind of notice how like Jo Nesbø makes it modern, like his modern takes on the story. Yeah, so I highly enjoyed it, and I think it's one of those ones that you can definitely easily get into as well. It is kind of a thick book, I'm not gonna lie, it's very slow as well, but if you're into that kind of atmospheric slow mystery, I would highly recommend it. Okay, so this next book is an instant classic. I think everyone has heard about it at least, but the movie or book, and that is Misery by Stephen King. Of course, you already know, I think everyone just already knows what this book So if you do not know what this book is about, it is about a writer named Paul Sheldon who just finished his manuscript for the last book in the Misery Chastain series, hence the title Misery. Yeah, so he just finished his manuscript for his last book because he wanted to move on to a new book, because the Misery Chastain series is technically like a series that he's very well known for, and he wants to move away from that. So yeah, basically he just finished that manuscript for like his last book, and when he basically he gets stuck in a snowstorm, but he kind of forces his way home through that snowstorm, and along the way he gets into like a crash. And the next time he wakes up in someone's home, and he's wondering like, whose home is this? And it turns out that the house that he's in actually belongs to one of his biggest fans, who is a nurse. So yeah, basically she takes care of him, but the longer he stayed with her, the more he realizes that there's definitely something wrong with her. Yeah, and that's all I'm gonna tell you. But if you're already familiar with the book, like, it's not a surprise. But yeah, but to those who have not read the book, I do definitely think this is a perfect fall read, especially like if you're into that suspenseful type of story. It is kind of slow and very subtle, and I think the writing isn't going to be for everyone, but if you're willing to give it a try, I think it is a really, really good suspense book. And it's just one of those that really keeps you at the edge of your seat. And I think, judging by the size, it is one of those that you could probably read in like 1 or 2 sittings. Really, really recommend it. The next one is quickly becoming one of my all-time favorite reads, and that is The Starless by Erin Morgenstern. I loved it so much. I first read this in 2019, back when it first came out. I remember there was like hype around it, and it definitely lives up to the hype for me. First of all, I love Erin Morgenstern. I've read her previous book, The Night Circus, which yeah, I absolutely love. And so I was really looking forward to her next book, The Starless Sea, and it lived up to the hype for me. Yeah, so The Starless Sea is about a boy named Zachary who discovers this book in his library, like a book of the collection of short stories. And one of those short stories depicts an event that he has actually experienced. So he's wondering like, why is my story here? So he sets out on a journey to find out more about this book, and basically on this journey he experiences like a whole other adventure that's just magical, poignant, and just incredible. Yeah, that's all I'm going to tell you, because like Misery, it is one of those books that I think you have to experience for yourself. I think for me this is one of those books that the more you venture, the more the more engaged you get. It's kind of like, you know, receiving presents. Each present is like a nice little surprise of its own, and the more you open them, the better it gets. Basically, that's how I would describe this book. It is fantastic. However, I will say that it's not going to be for everyone, because first of all, it is a very slow book, and also there are like you do get to see some of the short stories that are shown in this book that Zachary reads. They do sometimes take people out of the book. I understand that, because my sister actually read this book and she got a little bit like sidetracked by all the short stories that were in this book. So they act kind of like as interludes in a way, you know? And yeah, so I understand if you would be put off by it, but if you're willing to go through it and just like experience the magic, you know, I think this is just incredible, and you will get sucked into every magical nook and cranny. It's amazing. Hello, so my camera battery just died, so there's a change in angle and lighting, that's why. And it's and also it's nighttime. So my last book recommendation is actually more of a recent read, and that is Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. This is more of like a fast-paced kind of read, but it is deliciously dark and perfect if you're looking for that Halloween themed kind of read. So this book is essentially about a girl named Amelia who finds her sister dead and mutilated, and is filled with this kind of anguish and revenge. And so in her journey of revenge, she accidentally summons a prince of hell, namely Wrath. And so Wrath and Amelia begin this kind of investigation, and they reluctantly work together to find out the mystery behind her sister's death, and also why or how she was killed. And basically that's all you need to know about it, because overall I really absolutely enjoyed this book. It is more of a quicker pace than I expected it to be, but I didn't mind it. I think it gave enough time, to kind of explore a little bit about on Wrath and Amelia's dynamic as a duo, and also kind of like the revelations that come with it as well. This really highly enjoyed it. It is quite dark, but I really like that kind of darkness. It is really atmospheric as well, and also for all you foodies out there, like this book has unexpected descriptions of like Italian cuisine that kind of makes you hungry, because it definitely did make me hungry when I read it, and it made me crave so much pasta and cannoli because there's so much descriptions about like all the different dishes that they cook, because since Amelia's family owns a restaurant in Sicily, so basically it's like there's a lot of cooking essentially. And yeah, I absolutely really like those descriptions, even though it did make me hungry. So yeah, make sure you have a snack on hand when you read this book, especially when they describe all the dishes. Yeah, but overall, yeah, like I said, this is a really, really kind of like fun, suspenseful, quick read that you can definitely read in like maybe 1 or 2 sittings. I probably read this in like 3 sittings because it was a pretty quick read. Yeah, so like really highly enjoyed it, especially if you're into that enemies to lovers thing. Although, if you're expecting a lot of romance, like don't expect that, because there isn't a lot of like romantic tension between Wrath and Amelia, as I've been led to expect. But no, it's definitely not that. However, I did still enjoy it because they did have a very, very interesting dynamic, and I would really, I'm really looking forward to kind of see how that relationship would develop, especially since Kingdom of the Cursed is coming out next month, I believe. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to reading the sequel and seeing how that story progresses, because boy, that ending was such a cliffhanger. Okay, so we're gonna get to my TBRs now, books that I plan to read in fall, and coincidentally they do, for me at least, kind of speak very fall-ish sort of way. And the first book is Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. Yes, I am very late to this book. I remember this book being so hyped, and I just saw it so many times. So I have not gotten the chance to read it. I have read the Remnant Chronicles, though I did kind of forget a lot of what happened because it was such a long time ago. But I'm still willing to give this a try. I do still remember bits and pieces, I guess, especially like the world building from the Remnant Chronicles. Yeah, I forgot to mention, yeah, so this is essentially a spin-off to the Remnant Chronicles, kind of the same way that Six of Crows is a spin-off to the Shadow and Bone trilogy. So this is essentially about a thief named Kazi, who is kind of like considered the best thief in the land. And so she goes under the Queen's Guard, and she is sent to investigate this kind of mob family. So essentially that's all I know about it. I did hear this more of like an angsty enemies to lovers kind of thing as well, which I'm really looking forward to. I was not the biggest fan of enemies to lovers, but I have since read a couple of books with that trope to kind of like, you know what, it's actually a really interesting thing. So yeah, so basically I'm following that that theme again with this book. Really looking forward to it. I did hear that this was better than the Remnant Chronicles in a way. Had a lot more interesting kind of story and characters. Yeah, so very much looking forward to it. So the second book is actually kind of like a continuation of a series that I have already read. I've read the first 2 books, so now I'm onto the third book, and that is Gods and Monsters by Shelby Mahurin. So this is the third and final book in the Serpent and Dove trilogy, which, before you call me out on this, I know Serpent and Dove has like kind of like a reputation, like either it's loved or hated kind of thing. I'm honestly in the middle. I did kind of enjoy it for what it is. I considered it kind of like a guilty pleasure read, and I didn't really expect to continue the series, but I was really, really curious because the ending in Serpent and Dove was very promising. Although once I got to Blood and Honey, I nearly DNF'd that book because I was so frustrated with everything that happened in that book. So I am a little bit skeptical on going into this one, especially since my friend who's read the series kind of told me that if I did not like Blood and Honey, I would hate this one. So I am a little bit skeptical, but I really, really hope that I actually enjoy it. I do want to see it for myself, and also it kind of feels wrong not to finish a series, yeah, especially since I already got the third book. So yeah, let's see how it goes. So last but not least on my fall TBR is Dark and Shallow Lies by Ginny Sain. I've heard so much about this book. I don't really know the general plot other than the fact that there's this girl who finds out that her friend is missing, I think, and so she finds out that there's like a whole plethora of like supernatural mysteries happening in her town. So yeah, that's kind of all I know about it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this one as well, because yeah, like I said, I have heard so much about it, especially on Bookstagram, like kind of like in that fall autumn TBR kind of thing, like because it's supernatural mystery. Yeah, so really looking forward to this. It does seem really interesting, and also the cover is just stunning, you know. As soon as I saw the cover, it is gorgeous. And yeah, everyone has been saying really good things about this book, which makes me even more excited, so hopefully I will also enjoy it. And also I want to mention a couple of books that I have actually pre-ordered and waiting to get the physical copy of, and one of them is Our Violent Ends, which is the sequel to These Violent Delights. Obviously I would be very excited. Yeah, so I have pre-ordered a hardback copy of it, and I'm so excited to see how it ends. And also another one that I've pre-ordered is Kingdom of the Cursed, which is the sequel to Kingdom of the Wicked. So yeah, very exciting. Hopefully I can get those copies very soon. And yeah, let you guys know what you think. I might do a video on Our Violent Ends once I read it, just letting you know. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have not subscribed, go right ahead. Yeah, and I'll see you next time.